Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as we do some lawn cleanup. So let's go. I love gardening. I love working in flower beds, and I've been doing it for a number of years. Part of what I do when it comes to taking care of my garden is taking care of my lawn. I have quite a bit of lawn that goes all the way around my house. And the way I look at it is, if I have really pretty flower beds, what good are they if I have a lawn that doesn't look as nice? And that's just more of a personal preference. It's something that I take a lot of pride in. In fact, when I was younger, my dad always loved taking care of his lawn. So I learned a lot of what I know now from my dad. However, my parents didn't live in a place that was surrounded with this many woods, so it's definitely been a challenge. One of my biggest challenges comes this time of year in the fall time. We get to enjoy the beautiful fall foliage, and I absolutely love it. Where I live, there are a ton of oak trees, and with those oak trees come acorns. And with all the trees that are around me, there are also a ton of leaves that fall on my lawn. And as pretty as the leaves are, I don't love them on my lawn. What happens with leaves is if you let them sit on your lawn for too long, it can smother out the lawn and it can kill it in certain areas. So a lot of what I'm doing these days in my garden is going around with my leaf blower and blowing the leaves off my lawn. And it's an ongoing process. It's something I do on a daily basis, and I'm going to be doing it for a number of months. Another thing I've been doing is going around and collecting all the acorns off the lawn. When you think about it, acorns take up a certain amount of room, and when it's just sitting on your lawn for a period of time, they are also smothering out and killing out the grass. Multiply that by thousands and thousands of acorns, and it's going to end up being a disaster on the lawn. I want to mention a few things. First of all, I don't have a backpack leaf blower. Those are usually gas powered. I'd like to get one, but I don't have one right now, so the one that I've been using is battery operated. And to be honest with you, it works for me because after swinging your arm a number of times, I don't know about you, but my arm gets really tired. So usually by the time the battery dies and it needs to be recharged, by then my arm needs a break as well. When it comes to the acorns, I've done a whole bunch of different things. I've gone around, I've handpicked them. I've also taken a rake and tried to rake them into an area and then handpick them. I don't have a fancy gadget or tool that I can put on top of my lawnmower that basically sweeps or vacuums up all these acorns. I know there's such a thing that exists, but I don't have that right now as well. And then I've seen these tools that you can roll around on your lawn and they basically sweep up or pick up all the acorns. I may eventually invest in that as well, but I don't have that right now. So what I've been using is a shop vac, and it works for me. So now I'm going to show you what I've been doing in my yard pretty much every day for the last number of weeks. Any of the products that I'm going to show you today are products that I purchased with my own money. I'm not sponsored by the companies. I did not receive these products for free. I've been using them for a number of years, so that's why I wanted to share what my process is when it comes to my fall lawn care. I bought two different kinds of leaf blowers. This was the first one that I bought, and it worked out really well, but then I found that my arm would get tired pretty quickly with it. So then I ended up buying a backpack leaf blower. You still have to swing your arm around with it, but I find that I like this one better than this one. But I think they both work pretty well in terms of blowing the leaves off the lawn. If you look behind me, you can see there are a large number of trees that still have their leaves on them. I do not like to wait until every single leaf has fallen off the trees before I start blowing the leaves off the lawn. Again, if I do that, there's going to be a very, very thick layer of leaves matting down on my lawn. When you think about it, if you have a thick layer of leaves on your lawn, sunlight cannot get to the grass, and all it's doing with those leaves just matted down is they're smothering the grass. So what I end up doing is just working on small sections at a time. I blow off a bunch of leaves, and then I come back in and I vacuum up the acorns. I find that it's a lot more manageable that way. And I also know that in another X amount of days, I'm going to have to come back out here and repeat the same process because more acorns will fall and more leaves will fall. If I can find these products, I will go ahead and link them in my Amazon storefront down below. So this is one of the leaf blowers right here, and you can see it takes a 56-volt lithium-ion battery. And the lithium-ion battery looks just like this, and there is a charger that I put the battery on. And I actually have two batteries so that when one battery dies, I have another one ready to go. And then here is the backpack leaf blower that I've been using. And like I said, I think they both work really well. And then the battery just gets inserted right here. Time to start blowing some leaves. I turned the camera off part way and I just finished blowing the leaves until the battery died. I do want to share with all the acorns that are here. I like blowing the leaves off. It just makes it that much easier to pick them all up. But as I walk on the lawn, I'm also pushing the acorns in, which is yet another reason why I like to try to get them off the lawn in increments or in stages versus just waiting for all the acorns to drop. There are a number of reasons why you want to stay on top of it, between removing the leaves as well as removing the acorns, not just waiting until the end. Certain parts of my lawn don't have as many acorns, but what you want to be careful about is this right here. Eventually, the acorns start to sprout, and when they start sprouting, they then start planting themselves into the ground, which makes it even harder to be able to collect the acorns off the lawn. But then there are other areas of my yard where there is an overabundance of acorns. And that's just simply because certain parts of my yard have more oak trees. So wherever there are a lot of oak trees, there are a lot of acorns. So we are currently stepping into where I have some raised beds, and you can see these are a number of acorns here. I haven't come in yet and started collecting them. A few of them I had taken out of my raised beds and I just basically threw them on the ground here. But a majority of these acorns that you see are just ones that have dropped. And trust me, more will be dropping over time. And as we walk around on the lawn here, you can just see that there are a bunch of acorns everywhere. There are just so many different ways that you can collect the acorns off your lawn. But what I've found is the shop vac does wonders for me. It really works well. To do this job, I like to use a small metal rake. This works out really well for basically dislodging all the acorns out of the lawn. And yes, I could keep it like a normal rake and rake the acorns this way, but what I've found works just as effectively, if not better, is actually turning the rake upside down like this and then going in a motion like that. And when you do that, you are really pushing those acorns out of the ground, especially the ones that have started to basically sow themselves in your lawn. And again, I'm just going to do small little sections like this, just to move the acorns around to get them out of the grass. And once I've done a small enough section, then I can go ahead and vacuum them up. Here's the shop vac that I'll be using. Again, I'll add it to my Amazon storefront down below if I can find the same one. But really, any shop vac will do. And this is just something to make my life a little bit easier when it comes to collecting all of the acorns. I did remove the filter from the shop vac because we don't need the filter inside of here for right now. And then I did attach the shop vac to a couple of extension cords just so I can reach further out into my yard. So I'm going to plug it in. I don't use any of the attachment ends, but if you wanted to, I guess you could use those as well. And here is the on-off switch in the back. One thing that I did not mention is the lawn was mowed recently, which just makes it a little bit easier if the lawn is not too tall. And this is what happens when they start rooting themselves. And once they start rooting themselves into the ground, it makes it a lot harder to vacuum them up. After a little while, I then like to empty the canister of the shop vac. I don't want it to get too heavy where I can't lift it up. And I'm going to empty out the contents, which are the acorns, into a 5-gallon bucket. Eventually, the 5-gallon buckets get filled. Once I have a number of 5-gallon buckets filled, which so far this season I've had probably 10 of them, what I do with the buckets is I actually go way out in the woods and I drop off all the acorns there. I don't have any neighbors in this one area if I keep walking out that way. So I just go out there and I dump all the acorns out there because I know the wildlife will enjoy them throughout the winter. And I'm just showing you this for demonstration purposes. I usually wait until I have way more acorns collected before I dump them out. By the way, it's my understanding that certain animals like pigs do eat acorns. So if you know someone that has animals that can eat the acorns, you can always share it with them. I just spent the last hour vacuuming up the acorns in a certain section, and I was thinking and I wanted to close this video with my final thoughts. First of all, if you love gardening and you don't care about your lawn, there's nothing wrong with that. It comes down to what's important to us as gardeners. I mentioned earlier that I take a lot of pride in my lawn for the simple reason that my late father took a lot of pride in his lawn. Also, my late mother-in-law took very good care of her lawn. She always had a really nice looking lawn. So for that reason, my husband also shares this interest as I do. The acorns would not be as bad as they are right now if I had started this about a month ago. However, a couple of months ago, my husband went ahead and overseeded the lawn. And not only did he overseed the lawn, he first dethatched it. He spent a lot of time doing all of that. So I didn't want to be going on the lawn and messing with it at the time. But next year, if we don't overseed the lawn, you better believe it. I'll be out there picking up the acorns early enough so that they don't start rooting themselves into the ground. I wanted to make this video because a number of you had reached out to me and you've been wanting to know, what do I do when it comes to lawn care? Even though we have irrigation on our lawn, it doesn't stop there. That's just one very small part of the whole big picture when it comes to lawn care. I hope you found this video interesting, and let me know in the comments below, what are some issues you deal with when it comes to your lawn, and what are you doing to fix those issues? Also, if you have any other suggestions on things I can try when it comes to getting those acorns off my lawn, I would love to hear from you. I'm sure one suggestion might be to cut down all the oak trees. Trust me, I've thought of that already. I hope you're able to get out in your garden, and until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.